Hi everyone, how are you? I hope all of you are doing well. This is Munish, you are watching Crime Tech English, and I welcome all of you to Crime Tech family. Now, if you remember in the last video, we spoke about a serial killer, the killer clown who used to dress as a clown, then lure the children and young men, and then on pretext of showing them magic tricks, he would invite them to his apartment, and then after sexual molestation and sexual assault, he killed at least 33 to 45 children and young men between 1972 to 1978. And in that last video, I promised that I will be telling you story about an Indian serial killer. And today I'm going to share that story. It's a very interesting story, and before I disclose the name or reveal his name, what is very interesting about this story is the simple nature of the crime. The person who we are talking about was a very ordinary looking person, but very sharp, smart, and intelligent as far as he was committing the crime is concerned. Now, about this man, his neighbors, wives, children, everyone was of the same opinion that they never thought that this person was capable of committing such crime. So I'll tell you how this person was caught, and then we will unfold how, why, when he was doing this serial killing. Now, it was June 17, 2009. In the southern part of Karnataka, there is a place called Bantwal. So Bantwal police station received a complaint about a missing woman. She was 22 years old, Anita. She went missing, and after she went missing, there was a pressure from the local crowd on the police to search for Anita. Now, what exactly was happening, because there were multiple cases of the Hindu women going missing, and there were multiple complaints where the Hindu women were getting married to getting married to a Muslim guy. So there was some love jihad angle, and there was this right wing who started protesting against the police, and they marched to the police station on June 17, 2009. So they marched to the police station and they threatened the police that if within 48 hours police fails to trace Anita, then they will burn down the police station. And police took this matter very seriously. They knew that what the crowd was capable of. So the senior police officials were involved, and there was a search team which was formed to look into the local area. But at the very same time, the entire police in Karnataka, they relayed a message about a woman who was in her early 20s. She has gone missing. So after this message was circulated within the police department, for 48 hours there was no trace. Police was empty hand. But the next day, even the local police was not aware, but on June 18, 2009, 160 kilometers from the Bantwal police station, from the Bantwal area from where Anita went missing, there was an information received where in a lady's toilet, a woman's body was found, and it was suspected that she has consumed something very poisonous, or she might have committed suicide after consuming poison. And so when the body was found, then the froth was coming out of her mouth. So it was a suspected case of suicide. But when this information was received by the local police, then of course the other departments of the Karnataka police, they were informed, and then they thought that it should be cross-checked with the Bantwal police station. A photo was sent, there was a match, and finally they traced Anita, but then she was dead. She was not in a position to reveal that what exactly has happened with her. So this was a task for the police, and when the police started the initial investigation, they came to know that this woman was staying near at a local lodge which was near a bus station where her body was found. and she was staying with a man. So again, they went to the lodge. It was searched, but there was no trace. On the register where we make the entry before we go to a hotel or a lodge, it was a fake name given for the woman and also for the person who came with this 22-year-old Anita. Again, there was no trace. But the police finally traced the mobile phone of Anita. So they got the mobile number, they started looking for the data, the number of calls made and received on that mobile phone. And finally they got to know about a woman called Kaveri. So why Kaveri? Because there was a pattern from last few weeks, there was a pattern that every night she was getting a call. She was getting a call from the person and from the SIM card which was registered on the name of Kaveri, I'm sorry. And when they started looking for it, then what they got to know that this is a very suspicious matter because Kavita was missing. She was missing from last many months. So someone was using Kaveri's SIM card. Now this SIM card, the data of dump data of Kaveri's SIM card was looked on. Again, there was a pattern. The pattern was that before she went missing, on the very same SIM card, she was receiving call from some different number. It was again a woman who was missing from last few months. So then there was a pattern, and what police thought that they have a record of 7 to 8 women interconnected to this number, but all of them are missing. So initially they thought that this is a case of sex racket. There is some sex racket going on, and that is why these women are missing at this point of time. It might be woman trafficking case where the mastermind has sold these women to some different places and other women might be alive. But interestingly, police did a fantastic job at that point of time, and what they were able to found that few of the SIM cards were used from a mobile number. There is an IMEI number of every mobile phone. So they found the IMEI number, and from that IMEI number they reached a person. When they reached that person, he told that this mobile was gifted by me to my nephew. Now again, police reached dead end, but they thought they should look into who the nephew was. Now when they looked for this nephew, he was a primary school teacher, nothing suspicious, primary school teacher. And the background, he was from a very poor and humble background. There was no criminal activity against this person, but they thought of digging into it. So when they started looking for this person, they finally traced that person, and that person, after 4 days, he was arrested. On June 21st, 2009, this person was arrested, and the name of this person was and is Mohan Kumar, also known as Mohan Cyanide. Now Mohan Kumar, or you can say Mohan Cyanide, how he got this name I will tell you later. Mohan Cyanide, cyanide is a poison. How he got this name I will tell you later. But Mohan Kumar was arrested, and after the initial interrogation, when the police started asking about these missing women, then what he told was shocking to police. Police thought that it is a case of woman trafficking, but it was a case of serial killing. And from 2004 to 2009, Mohan Kumar, also known as Mohan Cyanide, killed more than 20 women. It was a case of such a, you can say it became such a big case that for many months and years, Mohan Cyanide was front page of most of the national newspapers and local newspapers of the country. Now, he was arrested. He confessed of killing at least 20 women, and what he told police that in 2004 he killed one woman. Then 2005 he killed two women. In 2006 he killed 3 to 4 women, and that is how he was increasing. But in 2009, the year he was arrested, now in that year he had killed 9 women. And now we will talk about the modus operandi of Mohan Kumar. And as a crime reporter, I personally felt that a primary school teacher maintaining a very simple life, a very low life, but he was committing his crime in a very intelligent manner, and that is why he was not arrested and he was not even suspected from 2004 to 2009. And this is because of his modus operandi. So there are two important facts about every crime. And as far as serial killing is concerned, and this is on the basis of my experience as a journalist, that selecting the target is very important for a serial killer. And there is a similarity in the in selecting the targets. It is in 90% of the cases where the serial killers have killed multiple people, then there is a pattern in which they start killing, whether it is women, young men, children, men, there is a pattern. In this case, the pattern was very important. And the second was the selection of target, who he was selecting. So, initially when the police got to know about this, so when they started looking into the victims, what they found, that most of the victims of Mohan cyanide, they were in their late 20s or early 30s or mid 30s. There were only few cases like the last one, 22-year-old Anita. The women were in their early 20s. Now the second was that the woman should be unmarried or she should be divorcee, but the common point should be that she and her family should be in desperation to get married. So this was the second pattern. Now the third pattern was that the woman, or you can say the victim, should be from a poor background. She should not be financially very strong or rich. They should be from a very, you can say, lower middle class or the lowest class, poor family basically. So he was selecting his victims, or you can say selecting his targets, who were very poor in nature. So these were three important points. And after selecting the target, he used to befriend them. So first he used to approach, after selection, used to approach, ask them if they want to have juice or something. And after the initial conversation, now he would study them. He would ask about the surname and all. And another important fact was that whatever the surname of that woman was, for example, if she was from a from a Pujari community or from a Brahmin community or from some other community, Mohan Kumar would change his name, give a fake name, and he would present himself from the same community. And after initial conversation, after 3-4 days, 5 days, once they have started hanging out to a local shop or a restaurant or something like that, he would propose them. He would ask them to marry. And this is what was very important for those victims, because they were in desperation. They wanted to get married. Here there was a person who was from the same community and he was a government officer. So what he used to do, if he has given a fake name, then he would create a fake government ID. For example, he is supervisor in some government company, or he is a school teacher. By profession, he was a school teacher. So he would give a fake name, fake identity, and those identity cards were made by Mohan Kumar. So there was enough proof that whatever the person is saying is absolutely fine. It is absolutely true. There was no chance, because they were from poor background. And what is unfortunate is that the poor, uh, they have so much of dream that they do not think twice about whether they are being, you know, they are being targeted by a person who is a serial killer. They will never think about it. So after initial conversation, the woman would ask them to, meet the family. He would go and meet the family, and then he would say that I want to marry your daughter. And the family, most of them were also ready for it. And what then he used to say that I want a very simple marriage. Only the family should be allowed. There should not be any relatives or anything. I'm also not calling anyone from my family. I want both of us are in love, and I want both of us to stay together now. So that's how he continued as far as selection of target is concerned. Now, after the marriage thing is almost done, he would ask the woman that let's go for a temple visit or something somewhere out. It was like a pre-honeymoon. And he used to call every night on some, for some romantic conversation and all. And after the woman is ready to go with Mohan Kumar, he used to go to some place which was 150, 160, 200 kilometers away from the place of the victim. He used to go, they used to travel in a bus. He used to go at the bus station. He will search for the nearest lodge. They will go to lodge. He would give a fake name and number. And then another important fact was that he would use to calculate the fertility dates of those women. So mostly he would choose to travel with the victim on the between the 10th and 14th day from the last day of their menstrual cycle. And then in the night he used to have sex with his victim. And the next day what he used to do is ask them, let's go to a temple and let's go for a sightseeing and all. And the moment they step out, he will look for the nearest ladies toilet, and then he would ask those victim to take a birth control pill, because last night they were indulged into intercourse. There should not be any issue of pregnancy. So he would give a birth pill. And when some of the victims asked that why you want me to consume right away, I can do it later, then he used to say no, we should not take any risk. Here is a bathroom, because after taking this birth control pill you will have urge of for urine to go for urination, and this is why you should take this pill. So the woman or the victim, they would go to the ladies toilet, consume the pill, but seconds after consuming the pill the woman would die. Now he would go back, Mohan Kumar would go back to the same lodge, collect all the items, the jewelry, the clothes and everything he would collect, and that jewelry and everything he used to sell to a jeweler shop. That I will tell you later. But this was his modus operandi. And that birth pill was cyanide. Now, cyanide is a poison. And that is how he got this name, Mohan Cyanide, because he was giving cyanide to the victim, cyanide tablets to the victim on pretext of giving birth control pills. So that is how he killed at least 20 women from 2004 to 2009. And when police started digging into his personal life, they got to know that initially he was married to a Catholic woman, but then he got divorced, and later he got married to 2 other women. And from each woman he was having two children. So it means 2 wives, 4 children, but none of them were aware of the existence of other wife. So his personal life was that few days he was spending with the first wife, second wife, you will say technically, and few days with the third wife, and other days he would spend with the victims. And later on, when police started digging into what he has done in past, so there was nothing much. Born in 1963, uh, you know, he was from a Dalit family. He was a graduate, and in 1984 he started working in a primary school as a teacher. And since then he was a teacher. When police spoke to the neighbors said he was the kindest man they have ever came across. When they spoke to the wives, they said that he has been a very good husband. There is no complaint about anything. The only thing that he was often going for some official work, which he used to tell them, but there was no complaint as far as the wives or any violence or the upbringing of the children are concerned. They also said, and this is why I told you that the selection of target and the way he was targeting. Now, how this idea of cyanide came, there is a very interesting story. And when I was doing my research, I got to know that basically there was a goldsmith, and he was a friend of Mohan Kumar. And during one of the meetings, when Goldsmith told Mohan Kumar that this is a powder also known as cyanide, and this is what they use to polish any gold ornaments. But he was telling this story because just few days back, before Mohan Kumar met that person, just few days back, because it accidentally that cyanide was thrown outside his gold factory, or you can say where his shop was, and at least eight cattle died in because of that consumption. So he was saying that how poisonous it is, and from there Mohan Kumar got to know about this, that this is the poison which can kill any woman. And being a school teacher, he came up with this idea of making cyanide pills, giving as a birth control pill to the victims, and then he killed at least 20 women between 2004 to 2009. Still the cases are going on. Mohan Kumar is still in jail. He is alive, and as far as sentencing is concerned, in few cases he has been given life sentence. But how smart he is, you can just imagine that it is Mohan Kumar who is fighting the case himself, but because there are so much of evidence against Mohan Kumar, he cannot get out of jail. But whatever he has done, it is completely terrifying, horrifying. As a reporter, I thought that this is a very interesting story about an Indian serial killer, and what was unique about this case was the selection of target, the pattern in which these women were killed, and it went undetected only because Mohan Kumar knew that if a woman from a poor family has gone missing, then the family will not take much of effort. The police will not take much of effort in tracing a poor woman, and if a body has been found some 200 kilometers away from a village, even that police station will not try his best to identify a woman who has been found in a ladies' toilet. The bodies were cremated. Most of the victims were cremated within 1 or 2 days after they were found. So this was the story of Mohan Kumar, Mohan Cyanide. I hope you like this story, and if you have any suggestion, you want me to tell you about any story within India, outside India, if it is a crime story, you just let me know in the comment box. I'll be happy to share that story. And once again, thank you so much for watching these videos. Your comments are very valuable to me. Whatever it is, any improvement for me, you just let me know. I'll be more than happy to tell you about any story or improve as far as my selection of stories is concerned or storytelling is concerned. Thank you so much.